The camera slowly pans over a small southern town bathed in the warm, golden light of sunset. The streets are empty, save for a few cars humming past and distant laughter of children playing. The Florida sun had begun its descent, casting a golden hue across the quiet town of Sunridge, a place where life flows with a slow, southern drawl, and secrets don't stay hidden for long. Cut to Josh Mitchell, a rugged mechanic in his late 30s, as he wraps up his work for the day at his father's old garage. Josh Mitchell, the town's go-to mechanic, was wrapping up his day. For him, life in Sunridge was predictable, comforting even until that evening, when something truly extraordinary shattered his routine. Josh, locking up the garage, notices a strange blue glow flickering in the distance. Curious, he climbs into his beat-up Chevy and drives toward the source. As he closed up shop, Josh's eyes caught a strange glow along the roadside. Without a second thought, he hopped into his truck, the gravel crunching beneath his tires as he drove toward the mysterious light. The camera reveals Mila, an otherworldly woman with shimmering blue skin and hair as black as midnight. She stands by the road, looking lost and fearful. Standing there was a woman like none he'd ever seen. Her skin held a soft, blue luminescence, her eyes deep pools of mystery and fear. And though she was a stranger to this world, her voice reached out to him, soft and pleading. Dialogue between Josh and Mila. Josh, nervous but trying to keep his cool. "Hey there, you all right?" Mila, voice soft, with an accent Josh can't place. I'm lost. I need help." Josh, hesitant yet moved by her distress, nods. "Josh, all right, you can stay with me tonight. But we're going to have to talk about what's going on." As they climb into the truck, the tension is thick. Josh glances at Mila, who stares out the window, her expression distant and haunted. Josh's house is humble, the kind of place where every piece of furniture has a story. He offers her a seat and a glass of water. Back at Josh's modest home, Mila seemed to relax for the first time, though her gaze remained wary, constantly scanning her surroundings. Dialogue continues as Josh tries to make conversation. "Josh, so, Mila, you said you're lost. Where are you from?" Mila, her fingers trembling, takes a sip of water, then looks up at him. Mila, softly but with intensity. "Not from here, not from this planet. I'm from a world called Salera. I came here to escape." Josh stares in shock, processing the impossible. But there's something in Mila's eyes, a mixture of hope, fear, and urgency, that makes him want to believe her. Mila explains she is fleeing danger on her home planet, Salera. The stakes are high, and she's unsure who to trust. Josh is drawn into her story, questioning everything he thought he knew about the world. In that moment, Josh's world tilted on its axis. But as Mila spoke, he felt an overwhelming urge to protect her, even if her story shattered his understanding of reality. Mila looks at Josh with a pleading gaze, her vulnerability cutting through his doubts. "Mila, I don't have anyone else to turn to. Please, help me stay hidden, just for a while." Josh, caught between disbelief and empathy, finally nods. "Josh, all right, Mila, we'll figure this out together." Final scene, an oath to protect. The screen fades as Josh realizes his life is about to take a turn he could never have anticipated. Josh had no idea what he was in for, but something inside him knew. In the quiet town of Sunridge, the arrival of Mila would change everything. Cut to black. Closing narration. In a place where everyone knows everyone, one secret was about to change the fate of an entire world. Stay tuned to find out what happens next. End with YouTube outro screen and call to action to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Opening scene, Josh's living room, late night. Mila is sitting quietly on the couch, visibly nervous. Josh, still reeling from what she told him, is pacing the room. After hearing Mila's story, Josh knew this was no ordinary encounter. In this small town, secrets were hard to keep, and Mila's truth was like nothing he'd ever imagined. Josh sits down across from her, looking both curious and cautious. Josh, studying her. "So, you're really from another world. This Salera place, what's it like?" Mila, a slight sad smile appears on her face. "Salera, it was beautiful. The skies were deeper than your oceans here, filled with stars that looked close enough to touch." But her smile fades as memories of her past surface. "Mila, it became a dangerous place for me. I had to leave everything behind, my family, my friends, to escape. Josh absorbs her words, sensing her pain. Josh, why are they after you? What could make you risk everything to come here? Mila hesitates, then whispers. I carry something valuable, a key, you could say, to knowledge that some would kill to possess. Josh's eyes widen. He realizes that Mila's situation is far more perilous than he first thought. The camera cuts to headlights outside, briefly illuminating the darkened living room as a car drives by, but it doesn't stop. Mila's gaze snaps to the window, her expression tense. In a town where everyone knows everyone, the sudden presence of strangers didn't go unnoticed. Mila, whispering urgently, are they here for me? Have they found me already? Josh glances outside, then reassures her. Josh, it's just a passing car, but you're safe here. No one in Sunridge knows about you, and they never expect to find someone like you here. Mila nods, though her unease lingers. She finally lets herself relax, if only a little. As the night grows late, Josh and Mila sit together in the dimly lit living room, sharing bits of their lives. Mila opens up about her world, describing the wonders of Solera, and Josh speaks of his life in Sunridge and the loss of his father. In the stillness of the night, Josh found himself entranced by Mila's stories of a world light years away, yet as vivid as his own memories of home. Mila, softly, I was never supposed to come here. My people would consider it dangerous. They don't believe humans are ready to know about us. Josh, intrigued and a bit hurt, asks her, Josh, and what do you believe? Mila pauses, then looks at him with sincerity. I think you're more like us than we ever believed. There's courage in you, a spark, and kindness. Perhaps your world is more ready than we thought. The two share a quiet, understanding smile. An unexpected bond is forming between them. The calm is suddenly broken by the sound of a faint, electronic hum outside. Mila's face pales. Mila, urgent, whispering. They're here. I can feel it. Josh, now fully on alert, checks the front door, peeking out to see two strange figures in sleek uniforms, carrying devices that emit a soft green glow. They appear to be scanning the area. It wasn't a passing car after all. Strangers were searching for her, and they were closing in fast. Josh's heart races, but he quickly gestures for Mila to stay quiet. Just whispering, stay down. Follow me through the back. They silently slip out the back door, moving quickly into the darkness, guided by only a sliver of moonlight. The two hurry into the nearby woods, where the tall trees cast deep shadows. They stop to catch their breath. Josh looks at Mila, who seems drained, but she nods, determined. With each step deeper into the woods, Josh realized he was now part of something far beyond anything he'd known. Mila had trusted him, and now it was up to him to protect her. Mila, whispering, her voice filled with gratitude. Thank you for everything. You could have left me. You didn't have to help. Josh, smiling despite the tension. Yeah, but I'm not one to leave people out in the cold, especially not someone as fascinating as you. They share a moment, their surroundings quieting. Then Mila's expression turns serious. Mila, Josh, there's something you need to know. If they find me, they might not leave you unharmed. Are you sure you want to take that risk? Josh's face hardens with resolve. Josh, Mila, I'm in this now. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe. The two share a look of solidarity, knowing the journey ahead will not be easy. They make a silent oath to stand together against whatever comes. In the heart of Sunridge, Josh and Mila's destinies had become intertwined. What had started as a quiet evening had turned into an encounter with the unknown, and now there was no turning back. As they walked deeper into the woods, Mila turns to Josh with one final revelation. Mila, Josh, there's more to my being here than you know. I may have come to escape, but I think I was also meant to find you. Josh glances at her, caught off guard, but before he can ask, a low hum echoes in the distance, another reminder that danger is still close. Screen fades to black. Closing narration. Sunridge was a small town with big secrets, and now its fate rests on two unlikely allies bound by an interstellar mystery. Who was after Mila, and why was Josh chosen to protect her? Stay tuned to uncover the truth that spans galaxies. End with YouTube outro screen and call to action to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Josh and Mila, hiding in the dense woods, are crouched behind a thicket. They listen as the humming sound of the strange figures grows louder. The night had grown darker, the air thick with the tension of pursuit. The figures searching for Mila were relentless, their technology far beyond anything Josh had ever seen. Mila's expression is grave, her eyes darting nervously to the glow of the searchlights now sweeping through the trees. Mila, whispering, "They've upgraded their tech. They won't stop until they find me, Josh." Josh looks around, his mind racing. He knows the woods well, too well actually, but there's nowhere to hide from high-tech scanners. Just determined. We need to get further into the woods. There's a place, an old cabin. It's secluded. We might have a chance there. Mila hesitates for a moment, but she knows they have no other choice. They make a quick decision and head deeper into the woods. After a tense few minutes of walking through the thick forest, Josh and Mila arrive at an abandoned cabin. It's weathered and overgrown with vines, but to Josh, it's the perfect hiding spot. Josh had almost forgotten about the cabin. It had been his grandfather's, forgotten by everyone else but him. A place where he could escape, even from his own thoughts. Now, it might be their only chance at survival. Josh kicks open the door, revealing a dusty interior, still filled with old furniture and long-forgotten memories. Just looking around. It's not much, but it'll work. For now. Mila enters, her eyes scanning the surroundings warily. She sits near a small table, still on edge. Mila, quietly, "Thank you, Josh. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this." Josh glances at her, his expression unreadable for a moment. "Josh, you don't have to thank me. I just hope this place gives us a little more time to figure things out." Mila pulls her knees to her chest and takes a shaky breath. "Mila, we don't have much time. They'll be looking for us, and they'll have no problem tearing this forest apart if they have to." As they settle into the cabin, Josh notices Mila is shaking, not just from fear, but from exhaustion. He sits down across from her. "Josh, Mila, you've been running for a while, haven't you? What happened on your planet? Why would they come after you so hard?" Mila's eyes lock onto his, and for a moment she hesitates. Then she speaks, her voice low and filled with regret. "Mila, I was part of a research project on Celera. A project that uncovered something ancient. We thought it was just a legend, but it wasn't. It's real." Josh, curious but cautious. "What was it?" Mila's voice lowers even further, and she leans in. "Mila, a machine. An old technology, hidden away for centuries. A device that could change everything. How we travel, how we communicate, how we think. It was never meant to be found, but I did. And when I did, the wrong people learned about it." Josh, narrowing his eyes. "So, you found this machine, and now someone's hunting you because of it?" Mila nods. "Mila, yes. The Council of Karuk, the ruling power on Celera, wants to control it. If they use it, they could dominate not just our planet, but every planet connected through the old networks. That's why I had to run." Josh is quiet for a long moment, absorbing the enormity of what Mila just revealed. "Josh, this sounds like something out of one of those sci-fi books I used to read as a kid. But if all this is true, why come here? Why Earth?" Mila looks at him directly, her eyes filled with sadness. "Mila, I didn't have a choice. The device, it's broken. But I can fix it. I can stop them, Josh. If I can fix the machine, I can destroy it before they can use it to take over everything." Before Josh can respond, the sound of footsteps crunching through the underbrush interrupts them. Mila's eyes widen with terror. "Mila," whispering urgently, "they've found us. We don't have time." Josh stands up quickly, grabbing a rusty old hunting rifle leaning against the wall. He hands it to Mila, who takes it with a shaking hand. Josh, nodding toward the window. "Get ready. They're not going to give up easily." The two move quietly through the cabin, peeking out from behind the walls as the figures outside approach. Through the slats of the cabin's broken window, they can see the same figures, now more than two, moving in a circle, their glowing devices scanning the area. Mila, in a low voice, "They're not human, Josh. They're hunters. Mercenaries. They'll track us until they find us." Josh clenches his jaw, then looks at Mila with determination. "Josh, then we'll have to fight. We can't let them get what they came for." Josh grabs a flashlight and signals to Mila. They sneak out the back of the cabin and make their way through the woods, staying low and using the darkness to their advantage. Every sound seems amplified: crickets, wind rustling through the trees, and their own footsteps, barely audible on the soft earth. Suddenly, a beam of light from one of the mercenary scanners catches Josh in the side. He instinctively pulls Mila down into the underbrush. Mila, whispering, urgent. They're closing in. We can't outrun them in the woods. Just determined. We don't need to outrun them. We just need to outsmart them. The two slip through the trees, moving towards a cliffside where the forest thins out. They find a narrow path that leads to a series of caves Josh knows well, a place where they can hide until the search passes. But as they reach the mouth of the cave, a familiar voice calls out from behind them. You can't hide forever. Josh freezes. Mila looks up at him, her face full of concern. The camera fades to black, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats. In the depths of the night, hunted by mercenaries and haunted by the weight of a device that could change the universe, Josh and Mila's fight is only beginning. The question is, will they make it out alive? End with the YouTube outro screen and call to action like subscribe and hit the notification bell to see what happens next. This portion builds on their connection, heightens the stakes, and deepens the mystery. The pursuit by the mercenaries introduces a ticking clock, raising the tension and leaving viewers eager for the next chapter. Josh and Mila crouch in the dark cave, heartbeats loud in the eerie silence. The hum of the mercenaries' equipment is faint in the distance, but still there, an ever-present threat. With every moment that passed, the walls of their world seemed to close in. The mercenaries were relentless, and the shadows of the cave were their only refuge. Mila and Josh crouch low in the cold, damp cave, their breath shallow. The sound of distant footsteps crunching on the forest floor grows louder, then stops abruptly. Mila looks to Josh, her face pale, but determined. Mila, whispering, we can't stay here long. They're using thermal scanners now. We'll be easy to find. Josh nods, his mind racing for options. The cave's narrow passages could give him a chance to slip by unseen, but it would be risky. Josh, whispering back, then we have to move now. Follow me closely. They rise slowly, moving cautiously through the cave's winding corridors. The walls are damp, slick with moisture. Every step echoes softly, but they can't afford to slow down. As they move deeper into the cave, they come upon a massive chamber, unlike anything Josh has ever seen before. Strange carvings adorn the walls, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. In the center of the chamber, a stone pedestal stands with something shimmering atop it. They had wandered deeper than Josh had ever known. This cave was no ordinary hideout. It was ancient, perhaps as old as the stars themselves. Mila steps forward, her gaze fixated on the pedestal. Her eyes widen in recognition. Mila, whispering in awe, This is what I've been searching for. The last piece. Josh looks at her, confused. Josh, what is it? What's on that pedestal? Mila's voice is filled with reverence as she approaches the pedestal. She reaches out with trembling hands, her eyes never leaving the object. Mila, it's a key, Josh. The key to activating the machine. The one that can stop the Kuruk Council from using it to control everything. She carefully picks up the shimmering object, and for a moment, there's a soft hum in the air, as if the chamber itself recognizes the key's presence. Josh, nervous but determined. So this is it. This is what they're after. Mila nods, her gaze hardening. Mila, yes. And now that I've touched it, they will stop at nothing to take it from me. Suddenly, a loud noise echoes through the cave, a harsh electronic crackle followed by the unmistakable sound of boots on stone. The mercenaries have found them. Voice, echoing from behind. We know you're here. You can't escape. Josh's heart races. He looks at Mila, who is already moving, leading him further into the cave's maze-like structure. Josh, urgently. We need to move faster, Mila. They're too close. Mila leads them through a narrow passage, but the walls close in, making it difficult to move quickly. They push forward, but the sound of the mercenaries grows louder with every step. Just as they turn a corner, Josh trips on a loose stone, crashing to the ground. Mila freezes, turning back toward him with wide eyes. Mila, whispering urgently, Josh, we don't have time. Get up. Josh scrambles to his feet, his pulse racing, but he can hear the mercenaries just behind him now. The sound of the scanners grows louder, too loud. Josh, grabbing Mila's arm. There's a way out. I know a secret exit, but it's far. Mila hesitates, looking at the glowing key in her hand, then back at Josh. Mila, resolute, lead the way. The two run through the winding tunnels, the glow from Mila's key the only light guiding them through the dark. The mercenaries are closing in fast, their heavy footsteps echoing through the narrow passages. Narrator. It felt like the world was closing in on them. With every step, Josh and Mila were chased not just by enemies, but by the consequences of their actions. The machine's power was within reach, but so was their doom. As they reach a large chamber with a stone door embedded in the far wall, Josh steps forward, his hands trembling as he searches for the mechanism that opens the hidden exit. He finds it, an ancient lever disguised as part of the wall. Josh, gritting his teeth. Come on, come on. Mila's voice is barely a whisper as she watches the approaching mercenaries. Mila, we're running out of time. With a grunt, Josh pulls the lever. The stone door rumbles and slowly opens, revealing a tunnel leading up into the mountainside. They have no choice but to go through it. Josh, urgently, pulling Mila through the opening. This is it. Go. They scramble through the dark tunnel, the door slamming shut behind them just as the mercenaries burst into the chamber. They're trapped, but Josh and Mila are not. The tunnel leads to a steep climb, the path lit only by the faint glow of the key. They climb quickly, but their pursuers are not far behind. Narrator. The mountains offered an escape, but it was treacherous and time was running out. They couldn't stop to rest. Every second was a second closer to being caught. As they near the top of the mountain, a shrill whistle echoes through the night, followed by a series of bright searchlights aimed at the cliffside. The mercenaries are using drones to scan the mountainside. Mila, whispering in panic. They've got drones. We won't last much longer. Josh, frantically searching for cover. We're not done yet. Trust me. They dive into a hidden crevice in the mountain's side, just as the drones zoom overhead, their lights sweeping the ground below. Josh and Mila lie still, holding their breath. Mila looks at Josh, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Mila, you've saved me again, Josh. Josh shakes his head, still focused on the drones above. Josh, we're not safe yet, Mila. But we will be. We just need to hold out a little longer. The camera shifts, and we see one of the mercenaries standing on the mountain peak, looking down at Josh and Mila's hiding place. Mercenary, whispering into a communicator. They've escaped the drones. But I have a new lead. The key, they don't know its full potential. It's time to end this. The screen fades to black as the ominous hum of distant engines can be heard, signaling that the mercenaries are preparing to launch their next assault. Narrator. As Josh and Mila hide in the mountains, they're not just running from the mercenaries. They're running from a power far greater than they realize. The machine's secret holds the key to everything. And now, the world's fate hangs in the balance. End with a dramatic cliffhanger and YouTube outro screen. This segment adds even more danger and mystery to the plot, emphasizing the threat of the mercenaries and the growing importance of the ancient machine. The suspense builds as Josh and Mila must rely on their wits and the ancient knowledge Mila holds to survive. It leaves viewers eagerly anticipating the next chapter. Josh and Mila remain huddled in the narrow crevice, the distant hum of drones growing fainter as they lie still. The world outside seems to hold its breath. Inside, the silence is suffocating. Narrator. In the cold, dark crevice of the mountain, Josh and Mila waited, every sound an echo of their heartbeat. The mercenaries had passed, but the danger wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Mila looks at Josh, her face pale in the dim light, the key still clutched tightly in her hand. Mila, whispering, just a machine on Solera. It's not just a weapon. It can control the fabric of reality itself. That's why they want it. It's not just about power. It's about control over everything. Josh looks at her, his brow furrowing. Josh is shocked. Control over everything? What do you mean by that? Mila leans in, her voice trembling with urgency. Mila, the device is older than our galaxy. It was designed by a race far more advanced than even the Kuruk Council. If they activate it fully, they could manipulate time, space, and even consciousness. They could rewrite history. Josh's mind races as he processes the gravity of what Mila just told him. Josh, and you're the only one who can stop them. Mila nods solemnly, her expression heavy with responsibility. Mila, I'm the only one who can fix it. But I need to get back to Salera. The machine must be destroyed there. It's the only way to stop it from falling into the wrong hands. Josh's eyes narrow. He understands the weight of the situation and the danger they're both in. Josh, so you're telling me we're not just running from them because they want you. They want the machine too. And they'll destroy everything to get it. Mila doesn't answer. Instead, she looks out into the darkness, her expression lost in thought. The two lie in silence for a few moments, the sound of the drones now distant. But Josh knows that won't last long. Josh, breaking the silence. We can't stay here much longer. We need to find a way off this mountain before they track us down again. Mila stands up, brushing dirt from her pants as she surveys the rocky terrain around them. She motions toward a narrow path leading further up the mountain. Mila, quietly but resolutely. There's a cave at the top of this ridge. From there, we can reach the old transport docks. If we can get there, I can send a signal to Salera. The ship will pick us up. Josh stands, shaking off the feeling of dread that has settled in his chest. Josh, then let's move. We don't have much time. The two begin to climb, the mountain steep and treacherous. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the rocky outcrops. Every step they take feels like a countdown as the sound of the mercenaries' search engines grows nearer. At the bottom of the mountain, a small group of mercenaries gather, their leaders standing tall, scanning the terrain with advanced scanning equipment. Mercenary leader, looking through a holographic display. They can't hide forever. They're on this mountain somewhere. Split up and fan out. Search every cave, every crevice. They'll slip up soon enough. The mercenaries split into groups, moving swiftly and efficiently. Their high-tech gear enables them to scan the area with terrifying accuracy. Meanwhile, Josh and Mila push forward, hearts pounding in their chests as the mercenaries close in. But the path to the transport docks is still far, and time is running out. Scene for the secret ship. After what feels like an eternity, Josh and Mila finally reach the top of the mountain. Ahead of them, hidden in a small ravine, is a sleek, silver ship, a relic from an age past, still operational, but long forgotten. Mila, whispering in awe. It's still here. Josh looks at her, eyes wide with disbelief. Josh, this is your ride? It looks like something out of a museum. Mila moves forward, her fingers brushing the cold metal of the ship's hull. Mila, this is the last of its kind. It's been waiting for me. She opens the hatch, and the ship's engines hum to life with a soft, eerie glow. As the ship's interior lights flicker on, Mila climbs inside, followed by Josh. Josh, still unsure but determined. All right, let's hope this thing actually works. Mila heads to the cockpit, quickly sitting down in the pilot's seat and activating the control panel. The ship's systems were to life as she inputs a sequence of codes, each one unlocking another layer of the ship's complex systems. Mila, focused. I need to send a signal to Salera. It will take a few minutes, but I'll need you to keep an eye out. If the mercenaries are still close, we won't have long before they find us. Josh nods and moves to the rear hatch, peering out into the distance. His senses are heightened as he scans the surrounding area, knowing the mercenaries are still close. Josh, quietly to himself. This is it. We don't get another chance like this. Suddenly, a shrill sound cuts through the air, a warning from the ship's sensors. Josh turns around quickly. Josh, Mila, we're not alone. Mila's eyes widen as she looks at the readout on the ship's control panel. A group of mercenaries is closing in, moving faster than expected. Mila, urgently. They've found us. We don't have much time. The ship's engines roar as Mila works to launch it into the air, but the mercenaries are already closing in, some on foot, others in flying drones. The chase is about to begin in full force. Narrator. With the mercenaries closing in, the only choice left was to run. But escaping the planet, escaping the mercenaries, was only part of the battle. The real fight was still ahead. The ship takes off with a sudden jolt, shooting through the sky as the mercenaries unleash a barrage of laser fire. Mila jerks the controls, narrowly avoiding the shots as she climbs higher into the atmosphere. Josh, grabbing onto the side of the cockpit as the ship jolts. "You've got this, Mila." Mila grimaces as she pushes the ship's engines to their limits, dodging another round of laser fire from a pursuing drone. Mila, gritting her teeth, "I'm not letting them stop us. Not this time." As the ship accelerates into the upper atmosphere, the mercenaries' drones fall back, unable to keep up with the ship's speed. But the threat is far from over. The signal to Salera is sent, but the danger is still at their heels. The ship bursts through the upper atmosphere, heading toward the cold, empty void of space. Inside the ship, as they reach the safety of space, Josh and Mila finally breathe a little easier. Mila slumps in the cockpit, exhausted but determined. Josh watches her, his expression a mix of concern and admiration. "Josh, softly. We did it. We're out of there. But we're not safe yet, are we?" Mila looks out the window, the stars twinkling like distant beacons. She's quiet for a moment before speaking. "Mila, no, we're not safe. But at least we have a chance now. The real fight, the real challenge is about to begin. We'll be heading to Salera, where the council will be waiting for us. But I won't back down. I can't." The road ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers and unknowns. But Josh and Mila knew one thing. Together, they had a chance. A chance to stop the corrupt council and save the galaxy. The war was just beginning. The screen fades to black, leaving viewers on a cliffhanger. This next part deepens the intrigue of the key and the machine, adds an exciting escape sequence, and positions the journey toward Salera as the next phase of their adventure. The stakes continue to rise, keeping the audience hooked and eager for what's to come. The ship glides through the cold expanse of space, the distant stars shimmering like a sea of diamonds. Josh and Mila are still inside the cockpit, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. Narrator. The vast emptiness of space offered them little comfort. The Kurok mercenaries may have been left behind on the planet, but the true danger was still ahead, waiting on Salera, the world Mila had come to escape. Josh sits in the co-pilot seat, looking out at the stars, his fingers tapping nervously on the armrest. "Josh, quietly. So, how do we get to Salera without them finding us first?" Mila, still focused on the ship's controls, doesn't look up immediately, but she answers with a quiet confidence. "Mila, we'll take the hidden route. It's a bypass through the asteroid belt, undetectable by their scanners. But we'll need to be quick. If they're tracking us, they won't take long to figure out where we're heading." Josh nods, understanding the stakes. They can't afford a detour or a misstep. If the Karok mercenaries catch up, they're done. Mila adjusts the ship's controls, activating the navigation system. The view outside changes, showing the asteroid belt that lies between them and Salera. Jagged rocks float in the void, scattered in unpredictable patterns. Narrator. The asteroid belt was a dangerous place, filled with erratic debris, old remnants of battles long past, and the constant threat of being lost to the void. But for Josh and Mila, it was their only chance. Mila's hands fly over the controls, her fingers dancing on the interface with practiced precision. The ship shifts direction, avoiding an asteroid that shoots by at high speed. "Mila, stay sharp, Josh. This route is risky, and we need to be careful. One wrong move, and we'll be stuck here." Josh grips the edge of his seat, eyes locked on the screen ahead of them. The asteroids are closing in fast, and the ship must navigate through them with expert maneuvering. Josh, shouting over the sound of the ship's engines, "I'll keep an eye on the sensors. Let me know if anything comes up." Mila nods, her expression set with determination. They enter the heart of the asteroid field. The ship dodges a series of massive rocks, the ship's hull vibrating with the impact of near misses. The proximity sensors beep rapidly, warning them of the hazards closing in. Back on the surface of the planet, the Kurok mercenaries have regrouped. They've picked up on the ship's trajectory and are now following, a fleet of drones and ships in tow. Mercenary leader, through his comms. They've made a mistake. They're heading through the asteroid belt. We'll catch them there. It's a dead end. The leader of the mercenaries, a tall, intimidating figure, stands on the bridge of his ship, calculating look on his face. His hand hovers over a button on the control panel. "Mercenary leader, prepare the drones. We're going in." The mercenaries launch a wave of advanced attack drones, each equipped with tracking devices and powerful weapons. The leader watches intently, knowing that once they're in the asteroid field, The chase will become a deadly game of cat and mouse. Inside the ship, Mila and Josh are getting closer to the heart of the asteroid belt. The ship's sensors blare warnings, but Mila expertly guides them through the maze of rocks, twisting and turning with calculated precision. Mila, we're almost through. Just a little more. Suddenly, the ship lurches violently. A sharp impact shakes the hull, and the ship's warning lights flash red. Shouting, Mila, what happened? Did we hit something? Mila doesn't answer immediately, her hands flying over the controls as she fights to stabilize the ship. Mila, we were hit by one of the drones. They've found us. Josh's heart races as the sound of another impact echoes from outside the ship. The mercenaries are getting closer, and they're firing on them. Josh, urgently, can we outrun them? Mila's eyes flicker to the navigation screen, where multiple drone signatures are closing in fast. Mila, grimly, not if they keep hitting us. We need to fight back. She slams a button on the control panel, activating the ship's defense systems. Laser cannons extend from the sides of the ship, and a pulse of blue light shoots out, striking one of the drones that's getting too close. The drone explodes in a shower of sparks. Josh, grinning slightly. Nice shot. Mila doesn't smile. She's already preparing for the next attack, the ship jolting again as another drone opens fire. This time, the blast shakes the entire ship. Mila, focused. Hold on. She maneuvers the ship through a narrow gap in the asteroid field, narrowly avoiding a barrage of laser fire from the drones. The ship's engines whine as she pushes the throttle to the limit. The asteroid belt starts to thin out as they near the edge of the field. But the mercenaries are relentless, and one of the larger ships is now on their tail, closing in with devastating speed. Josh, frantic. Mila, we need to do something. They're gaining on us. Mila's jaw tightens as she checks the ship's remaining fuel. They're low on power, but there's one last option, an emergency warp drive, but it's risky. If they don't time it perfectly, they'll be caught in the blast radius. Mila, with a determined look, we're going to warp. Hold tight. She punches in the coordinates for a safe destination just outside the asteroid belt. The ship hums with energy as the warp drive powers up. Mila looks over at Josh, who braces for the sudden jump. Josh, looking out the window, voice low. Are you sure about this? Mila gives him a small, resolute smile. Mila, we don't have a choice. With a final push, she activates the warp drive. The stars outside blur into streaks of light as the ship accelerates beyond the limits of conventional space. The mercenaries are left behind, their ships too slow to follow. The ship emerges from the warp, and they're greeted by the sight of Solera, an alien world full of shimmering blue oceans, glowing cities, and towering spires that stretch into the sky. The atmosphere is dense, the landscape both beautiful and dangerous. Narrator. They had made it. Solera, the heart of Mila's homeworld. But this was no longer a place of peace. It was a battleground. And the real fight was just beginning. Mila looks out at the planet below, her expression unreadable. She stands up from her seat, moving toward the ship's rear hatch. Mila, we've arrived. Now we must prepare. The Karuk will stop at nothing to get what they want. Josh, seriously. And we'll stop them. As the ship descends into the atmosphere, the camera zooms in on the distant landscape of Solera, preparing for a battle unlike any before. A fight not just for survival, but for the future of the galaxy. Narrator. The journey to Solera had just begun, but the true test was still ahead. Will Josh and Mila be able to stop the Karuk mercenaries? Or will Solera fall into their hands? This continuation raises the stakes even higher as Mila and Josh approach Solera, setting up the epic confrontation that's coming. The suspense and danger build as the mercenaries are hot on their heels, and their arrival on Solera promises a whole new chapter of the story. The camera pans over the vibrant landscapes of Solera, a planet bathed in hues of blue and violet. Towering spires of glass and crystal rise from the planet's surface, reflecting the light of a distant sun. The atmosphere is thick with strange clouds of energy, swirling with a powerful pulse. Narrator. Solera, beautiful, powerful, and dangerous. The very heart of Mila's homeworld, now on the brink of war. As Josh and Mila land, the planet's energy begins to hum with an ancient power, one that the Karuk mercenaries are desperate to control. Mila's ship descends slowly, its hull crackling with the remnants of the recent warp jump. Josh watches out the window, tense as they approach the surface. Josh, whispering to himself, "This is it. This is where it all ends." The ship's landing gear touches the surface with a soft thud. The engines power down, and for a brief moment, there's only silence before Mila's voice cuts through the quiet. "Mila, we've landed in the heart of Solara's capital, Dine. We need to move fast, Josh. They'll be here soon." Josh stands, nodding grimly as he grabs his gear from the storage compartment. He follows Mila out of the ship and onto the surface of Solara. Dine is a sprawling metropolis of crystalline buildings and strange, bioluminescent plants that glow softly in the twilight. The air smells of ozone and sea breeze. The city hums with life, but there's an underlying tension in the air. Narrator. Dyname, the last beacon of resistance against the Karuk. It was here that Mila had hoped to find refuge, but it was now a city on the brink. Every corner seemed to harbor secrets, and not all of them were friendly. Mila leads Josh through the winding streets, her steps quick and purposeful. The city feels both alien and familiar to her, as though she's returning to a place of power she once knew. Josh, looking around, scanning the environment. "Where are we headed? What's the plan?" "Mila, we're going to meet with the resistance leaders. They're the only ones who can help us now. But they'll be cautious. We need to prove we're not bringing the Karuk down on them." As they pass a corner, two armed guards step into their path, their eyes scanning them both warily. Guard 1, sternly, "State your business." No one enters Dine without clearance. Mila steps forward, her eyes flashing with a cold, authoritative intensity. "Mila, tell your commanders that Mila's here. I need to speak with the resistance." The guard hesitates, his gaze flickering to Josh before he steps aside, motioning for them to pass. Josh exchanges a confused look with Mila, but follows her. "Josh, quietly, you seem to know your way around here." Mila, without missing a beat, "I've been here before. A long time ago." The hideout is hidden beneath a large crystalline structure, a network of tunnels and rooms shielded by advanced technology. Inside, a handful of resistance fighters, men and women of various species, are busy preparing weapons and monitoring communications. The atmosphere is tense, but hopeful. Narrator. The Resistance, Solara's last hope. Its members are an eclectic mix of fighters, scientists, and civilians, all united by one goal: to push back against the Karuk forces and protect their homeworld. But their leader, Kalen, is a man who has seen too much of war and has little trust left. Mila and Josh enter the main command room, where the Resistance leader, Kalen, stand watching a series of holographic displays. He's a tall, muscular figure, his face lined with the scars of past battles. He turns as they approach. Kalen, nodding grimly. "Mila, I never thought I'd see you back here." "Mila, I didn't think I'd be coming back either, Kalen. But we don't have time for reunions. The Karuk are here, and they're coming for the energy core." Kalen's eyes narrow at the mention of the energy core. He gestures for Mila and Josh to sit. "Kalen, if they get their hands on it, Solara is finished. But we don't have the firepower to fight them head-on." Josh, stepping forward, looking at the holograms. "You're telling me the Karuk want this planet's energy core? What makes it so special?" Mila glances at Kalen, who hesitates for a moment before answering. "Kalen, the core is not just energy. It's a conduit to the ancient powers of Solara. Whoever controls it can manipulate the planet's very forces. If the Karuk get it, they'll turn Solara into a weapon capable of destroying entire fleets." Josh, grimly. "We can't let that happen." Kalen hands Mila a data pad with coordinates to the location of the core, located deep beneath the city. He briefs her on the plan to infiltrate the Karuk stronghold, a heavily guarded facility where the core is being kept. "Kalen, we'll need a distraction. A big one. Mila, you and Josh will be the vanguard, but you'll have to move quickly. The Karuk won't just hand over the core." Mila, nodding. "Understood. Josh, you ready for this?" Josh looks at the data pad, his face set with determination. He takes a deep breath and looks back at Mila. "Josh, I didn't come this far just to watch. Let's do this." Mila places a hand on his shoulder, giving him a brief, reassuring nod. The tension between them is palpable, but so is the resolve. Narrator. With the plan set in motion, Mila and Josh knew that what awaited them would change the fate of Solara forever. The battle for the core had begun, and no one was safe. The camera shifts to the Kuruk's stronghold, a massive fortress made of dark metal and glowing red energy. The walls are lined with advanced defense systems, and the air hums with the power of the energy core inside. The Kuruk were ready. They had anticipated this attack. But what they didn't expect was the fight that Mila and Josh would bring. The true battle for Salera was about to begin. The screen cuts to black, and a countdown timer appears, ticking down from 60 seconds. Narrator. The clock is ticking. Will Mila and Josh be able to stop the Kuruk and save Salera? Or will the planet fall into the hands of a power far greater than anyone could have imagined? The countdown hits 0, and the screen fades to black, leaving the audience hanging. This chapter further sets up the conflict with the Kuruk and brings Mila and Josh closer to the heart of the battle. The stakes are raised as they prepare to confront the mercenaries and protect the powerful energy core, setting the stage for an epic showdown. The camera pans over the darkened streets of Dyname as Mila and Josh move through the shadows. They are on their way to infiltrate the Kuruk's stronghold beneath the city, with only the hum of distant generators and the occasional thrum of boots on the cracked metallic ground. Tension is thick in the air. Mila and Josh had one chance to strike. The heart of the Kuruk's operations lay below Dyname, in the depths of an underground facility where the energy core was being held. The resistance would create the diversion, but it was up to them to make it inside and disable the core. Mila gestures for Josh to stop, crouching behind a large piece of debris. Her eyes scan the area, locking onto the entrance of the Kuruk facility. There are guards, but the defenses seem less tight than expected. Josh whispering, "They're not expecting us to come this way. Maybe we got lucky." Mila, focused, checking her gear. "We haven't gotten lucky yet. Stay alert." They both move forward, staying close to the walls as they approach the large, heavily reinforced doors leading into the Kuruk stronghold. Mila taps a small device attached to her wrist, and the door opens with a soft hiss, releasing a burst of cold air. The interior of the stronghold is a labyrinth of high-tech corridors and vast chambers filled with mechanical equipment. Strange energy pulses along the walls, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. The sound of Kuruk's soldiers moving through the halls echoes faintly in the distance. Narrator. Inside the Kuruk stronghold, the atmosphere was thick with technology, an alien, cold place where life seemed secondary to power and control. The energy core was somewhere deep within, and time was running out. Mila and Josh continued to move stealthily through the corridors, occasionally ducking into hidden alcoves to avoid detection. They hear the occasional footsteps of Kuruk's soldiers patrolling the area, but they manage to remain out of sight. Josh, nervously whispering, "How do you even know where we're going? This place is like a maze." Mila, grimly, "I've been here before, but things have changed. The Kuruk have adapted." They round a corner and pause, seeing a large room with a glowing red light in the center. There, hovering in the middle of the room, is the energy core. The room is heavily guarded, with several Kuruk soldiers stationed near the core. Josh, whispering urgently, "That's it. How do we get past them?" Mila, calculating, eyes scanning the area. "I can cause a diversion, but you'll need to take care of the guards while I disable the core." Josh nods, determination flashing in his eyes. He's ready for this fight. Mila pulls out a small device from her belt, a cloaking module. She activates it, and her form flickers, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of the room. She moves towards the energy core, making her way carefully to the control panel. Narrator. Mila's stealth was a gift she would need to rely on if they were to succeed. But even with the best preparation, they were never going to make it out unscathed. Josh crouches, gripping his weapon tightly. He waits for the right moment, watching the guards closely as they pace around the room. The seconds feel like hours as he watches the nearest guard's movements. Then, Mila makes her move. She activates the cloaking device, creating a diversion. She hacks into a control panel, causing a loud echoing crash from another part of the facility. The Kuruk soldiers turn their heads, distracted for a moment. In that split second, Josh springs into action. He moves quickly, disarming one of the guards and knocking him out with a swift blow. Another guard lunges at him with a combat knife, but Josh dodges, knocking the knife from his hand and sending him into a nearby wall with a powerful punch. Mila reaches the control panel by the energy core, her fingers flying over the holographic keys as she hacks into the system. Mila, urgently, "Josh, I need a few more seconds." Josh fights off two more guards, using his training and quick reflexes. The tension in the air is palpable as the sound of blast or fire rings through the halls. He's pushing himself to the limit, knowing that every second counts. Just as Mila is about to disable the core, an alarm blares throughout the stronghold, signaling that reinforcements are on their way. The doors to the room slam shut with a hiss, locking Josh and Mila inside. Narrator. The Kurok had anticipated this move. The room now becomes a deadly trap. With reinforcements closing in, Josh and Mila are trapped between two forces, the core they need to destroy, and the Kurok mercenaries hunting them. Mila curses under her breath, trying to finish the deactivation sequence before the soldiers arrive. Josh watches the hallway as he hears the sound of boots thundering toward them. Josh, urgently, over his shoulder. Hurry, Mila. Mila, desperately. I'm almost there. With a final press of a button, the control panel flashes green, signaling that the core has been temporarily disabled. Mila, breathing heavily, relieved. Got it. The core is down for now. But we need to get out before they lock us in. Josh grabs her arm, pulling her toward the door just as the Kurok's soldiers burst in. They're ready to fight, but Josh and Mila are already one step ahead. The door slides open just in time for them to make their escape, but they're not out of the woods yet. They make their way down a narrow, winding corridor toward the exit, but the Kurok are everywhere. The sound of weapons charging fills the air as Josh and Mila are forced to fight for their lives. The path to freedom was not so simple. The Kurok were closing in, and the facility was collapsing under the strain of the battle. It was a race against time. Will they make it out alive? Mila's eyes scan the walls of the corridor. She sees an escape hatch just ahead, an emergency exit leading to the surface. Mila, there, the hatch. Josh moves forward, guns blazing, taking out one of the Kurok's soldiers as they reach the hatch. He pulls it open, and they dive into the small metallic chamber beyond, their hearts racing as the hatch slams shut behind them. The emergency hatch opens to the surface of Salera, and they emerge into the chaos of the city streets. Explosions and gunfire can be heard in the distance, signaling that the resistance is engaged in their own fight against the Kurok. Mila and Josh scramble for cover, breathing heavily from the narrow escape. Narrator. They had made it out. For now. But the battle was far from over. The Kurok were relentless, and their thirst for the power of Solara's energy core would not be quenched so easily. Mila pulls Josh to his feet, urgency in her eyes. Mila, we need to warn the resistance. The Kurok are going to give up. We've only delayed them. But this fight is far from over. Nodding. Let's finish this. As the camera pans up, the two of them look out over the city of Dynamite, where the resistance continues its battle against the Kurok forces. The energy core still pulses in the distance, its power awaiting the next clash. Narrator. The fate of Salera hangs in a balance. With the Kurok mercenaries closing in, Mila and Josh must rally the last of the resistance and find a way to stop the Kurok before their power consumes everything. But in a war where time is the enemy, no one knows how long they have left. The camera opens on a dimly lit underground resistance bunker, the air thick with the smell of old metal and sweat. Resistance fighters, clad in mismatched armor, are busy prepping weapons and organizing supplies. Josh and Mila walk into the room, their clothes dirty, their faces weary but determined. The sound of a digital map being projected fills the air. Narrator. Salera was a planet on the edge of collapse, and its defenders were a ragtag group of rebels who had no choice but to fight for survival. But even within the resistance, not everyone could be trusted. The leader of the resistance, Commander Rylos, a grizzled man with a stern face and a prosthetic arm, approaches Josh and Mila. He's looking over a map of Dynamite, but his eyes darken as he sees them enter. Commander Rylos, gruffly, you made it out. Good. But the Kurok are pulling back their forces. Something's not right. Mila, sharply. They're regrouping. I know the Kurok. This is a trap. Josh glances at Rylos, noticing the uneasy look on his face. Something's off. The commander is too calm, too controlled. Josh cautiously. What are you not telling us, Rylos? You said the resistance had an advantage. If they're regrouping, that means we're losing time. Commander Rylos pauses, then sighs. It's not that simple, Mitchell. The Kurok have a new weapon. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's going to change everything. Mila's eyes narrow, and she steps closer to the table, her mind racing. Mila, what kind of weapon? Do we have any intel? Commander Rylos looks uneasy. We don't know yet, but we have to move fast. You two were the closest to the energy core. If the Karuk have a new weapon, it's connected to that somehow. Josh and Mila exchange glances. It's clear they both have the same suspicion. Something is off about Rylos's behavior. Narrator. Trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. But in times of war, sometimes the line between ally and enemy blurred. Rylos lays out the mission plan. The Resistance will make a coordinated attack on a Karuk convoy carrying vital equipment, possibly the new weapon. Mila and Josh are assigned to take out the convoy's escort, clearing the path for a direct strike. Commander Rylos, sternly, you two know the terrain better than anyone. Get to the convoy. If they're moving something important, it's time to take it out. No questions, just get it done. Mila eyes him with suspicion, but doesn't say anything. She looks at Josh, who nods in agreement, even though his instincts are telling him something isn't right. Josh, quietly to Mila, Rylos isn't telling us everything. I've been around enough to recognize when someone's hiding something. Mila, in a low whisper, I know. Stay sharp. The convoy is a well-guarded transport, moving slowly along a deserted highway at the edge of Dynae. Josh and Mila are in position, hiding among the rocks and sand dunes. The sun is setting, casting long shadows over the dusty terrain. They've been watching the convoy for hours, waiting for the right moment. Narrator. The desert was silent, save for the wind and the distant hum of engines. Mila and Josh knew the Karuk's every move. But what they didn't know was that they weren't the only ones waiting. As the convoy nears their position, Josh signals Mila to move into place. They're about to strike when suddenly, a loud explosion shakes the ground. The convoy halts as blaster fire erupts from all directions, Resistance soldiers ambushing the convoy from both sides. Josh, shouting to Mila, we've been set up. They're not with us. Mila's eyes widen as they realize the truth. The ambush isn't just Karuk forces. There are Resistance soldiers among them, Rylos's men. Narrator. A betrayal. A trap set by the very people they thought they could trust. Rylos's plan was never about defeating the Karuk. It was about using them to seize control. The battlefield explodes into chaos. Karuk soldiers and Resistance fighters exchange fire as Josh and Mila dive into the fray, determined to survive. Josh pulls out his blaster and starts taking down Karuk soldiers, but his mind is racing. Where is Rylos? And what exactly is he planning? Suddenly, the sound of an unfamiliar vehicle approaching draws their attention. A massive Karuk war machine rolls into view, its guns trained on both the Resistance and Josh's team. Narrator. The real weapon had arrived. The Karuk war machine was massive, armored to the core, and brimming with devastating firepower. Rylos's plan had just escalated from betrayal to all-out war. Mila, looking at the machine in disbelief. We're outgunned. We need to get to Rylos and stop this now. They make their way toward the center of the battlefield, where Rylos stands, commanding the forces. He's overseeing the battle, but there's no remorse in his eyes. Only a cold, calculating focus. Josh, yelling over the noise of the battle. Rylos, what the hell is going on? Rylos turns, a slight smirk on his face as he sees Josh and Mila approach. Commander Rylos, calmly, as if nothing is wrong. You should have known, Mitchell. This was never about saving Celera. It was about power. The Karuk offered me something you could never understand. Josh's eyes widen as the realization hits. Rylos has been in league with the Karuk all along. Josh, fury rising in his voice. You sold us out? You've been working with them the whole time. Commander Rylos, coldly. It wasn't about the Resistance. It was about survival. And now I have the Karuk on my side. We'll crush anyone who stands in our way. The Karuk war machine begins its slow advance, ready to level the Resistance forces. But just as Rylos begins to give his final orders, an explosion rips through the air, the Resistance's last gambit. A bomb has gone off beneath the war machine, throwing it off balance. Mila, shouting to Josh, this is our chance. We can still stop him. Josh and Mila charge toward Rylos, but as they do, Rylos pulls out a hidden blaster, aiming it at Mila. Commander Rylos, with a manic look in his eyes. You've lost, Mila. The war is over. Join me, and I'll spare your life. Mila's expression hardens, her hand reaching for her own weapon. Mila, I'm not interested in your deal, Rylos. You're finished. With a swift move, Mila shoots first, knocking Rylos' weapon out of his hand. Josh and Mila move together, cornering Rylos. He's out of options now. Rylos is taken into custody by the remaining resistance fighters. The war machine lies in ruins, and the Kuruk forces are in disarray. But the victory feels hollow. There's still so much to do. Mila and Josh stand together, surveying the battlefield, their faces grim but resolute. Narrator. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Rylos had been defeated, but Solara's future remained uncertain. The Kuruk were not done yet, and Mila and Josh knew one thing for sure. The hardest fight was still ahead.